Let's do some salt, and then we'll take about 2 super chat questions. Anna, this is a good one because this fuses together. Like, we're going to start making these more like we're going to have fun, but we want to actually point to something. Like, we want to walk our talk here. Like, this is some salt, but it's about a policy. It's about something that actually impacts people. It isn't just, Dave Rubin said something dumb. It's fun, but, we're moving past that. This one is a good fusion because this is actually some, internet commentator saying something extremely stupid, but actually about an enormous and terrifying threat that's threatening the well-being of people in Portland right now and is a national threat to all of our basic civil liberties.
Exactly. So let me set it up for you, and you'll see exactly what Michael's talking about when he mentions the fusion here. So federal agents in unmarked cars detained protesters in Portland. These are peaceful protesters. As the story was developing after it broke, there were basically agents from the Department of Homeland Security arguing, by the way, from the Department of Homeland Security, they work for immigration, right? They're the ones going to these protests in Oregon in unmarked cars. You don't know who they are. They could very well be right-wingers who also show up in military gear and try to provoke these protesters. They just start snatching people up, detaining them, and giving them absolutely no reason for that detention, right? And so it's a form of intimidation. It's absolutely horrifying. And it's part of a program, by the way, based on incredible reporting by Ken Klippenstein on The Nation, at The Nation, that will expand to other cities. So this is something that needs to be attacked and stopped immediately. Okay, because again, it's a form of intimidation by federal agents. This is terrorizing American citizens, civilians, protesters, people who are protected under the First Amendment of our Constitution. And so it's incredible to see this happening. And for all of the rhetoric we've heard from the right wing and libertarians in regard to the importance of the Second Amendment to protect us from tyranny, it's incredible to hear some of the excuses and the apologetic language coming from them when it comes to this type of horrible treatment toward the protesters. So the federal agents argued, "Oh, no, we only detained suspects who we believed were attacking police or doing something to property, vandalizing property." There was no evidence of that. There was one man, Mark Pettibone, who was detained and searched. One man asked him if he had any weapons. He did not. They drove him to the federal courthouse and placed him in a holding cell. 2 officers eventually returned to read his Miranda rights and ask if he would waive those rights to answer a few questions. Luckily, he did not. Almost as suddenly, the Washington Post writes, almost as suddenly as they had grabbed him off the street, the men let him go. The federal officers who snatched him off the street as he was walking home from a peaceful protest did not tell him why he had been detained or provide him any record of an arrest. As far as he knows, he has not been charged with any crimes. And Pettibone said he did not know who detained him. This is a huge problem, right? And so what kind of statements are we hearing from the right wing or from disgusting grifters like Tim Pool? Well, let's hear it.
Federal law enforcement using unmarked vehicles to grab protesters off Portland streets. Let's be honest. There's a word for this. It's black bagging.
Yeah.
The story, I'm not going to bury the lead on this one because I think it's hilarious. Unmarked vehicles pull up, feds jump out, and then walk up to Antifa and just snatch them up. Gone. And you know what? I mean, it's funny to think because I'm thinking about like when I was a kid, watching, like when I was younger, watching V for Vendetta or any of these movies. You'd imagine that anybody carrying out these governmental black baggings were the bad guys.
That's a good point.
No, not here.
So totally misrepresented who the protesters are, referred to them as Antifa. This was a peaceful protester, the one that I mentioned in the story, who wasn't charged with anything. He wasn't charged with anything. There was absolutely no probable cause, nothing, totally misrepresenting the story and calling it hilarious. Hilarious, Michael. He thinks it's funny.
Besides black bagging, it's disappearing. I mean, the logic of that is terrifying for everybody. Not to mention the fact that for months we've seen, overt and vicious police abuse and police attacks of protesters across the country. And the fact that, the Homeland Security director is talking like, we're going to secure liberty and all this nonsense. The mayor, the governor don't want these people there. They don't want these forces. And obviously, this is not going to do anything to, of course, forget Tim Pool in terms of like caring about the actual needed urgent reforms that these protests are pointing to and changes. But even like the idea of like cooling down a city and building a new civic compact, putting in unmonitored federal officers conducting illegal body grabs of people that's really going to help cohesion. My only question, I know we have something else with Tim Pool here, which is funny, and I guess goes back to the V for Vendetta thing. I've stopped using the word grifter. Isn't it like overused? Everybody gets called a grifter now.
But Tim Pool, yes, everyone gets called a grifter when like you disagree with them, but it goes beyond that. Like there are people I disagree with.
Right.
What happened?
No.
Look, there are people I disagree with where they're not grifters. They're like actually sincere in their political views, and I might disagree with them, but I respect them, and they're not purposely misrepresenting what they actually believe in order to appeal to the worst elements of society who also happen to have the money to pay you to say those stupid things. Tim Pool falls under that category. And the reason why I call him a grifter is because I learned about Tim Pool during Occupy Wall Street when he actually wasn't a grifter. And the complete 180 that he's done in an attempt to like appeal to like the worst people and make money off of it is just, it's everything that's wrong with the incentive structure with digital media, honestly.
Well, let's look at, and who the hell knows, but you're totally, the incentive structure, that's a big one to resist. And I guess Tim Pool does the literal opposite of resisting, or so it seems from everything I've seen of him. But not only that, this is a pretty funny throwback clip, because there was a time when Tim Pool didn't think, and forget, like, we're talking about non-identified federal agents illegally grabbing people in something that would terrify anyone who had any sense of anything, let alone just a standard, like, if Tim Pool thinks that's cool, I would guess that he is definitely the type of guy who wouldn't throw a tantrum if he got pulled over by a police officer.
Well, and Connor, I actually want to go to the last video here. We have 2 more remaining. Let's go to the last one, and then we'll play the second one. So let's go to that last video. And this is Tim Pool from, I think, about 8 years ago. This was during the Occupy Wall Street protests. He was covering it as a citizen journalist in Chicago. And just check out how upset he was at the police treatment of protesters and people covering it.
For those that are watching right now, for all that is holy, please tweet out, "We just got raided." Multiple squad cars surrounded our vehicle right here. We were all pulled out, cuffed, and put up against the hood. A supervisor came by and fanned over to one of the other officers, and he pointed at us, swelled his finger. The police came over and uncuffed us and said, "We're sorry, your car looks like something that another car we were looking for." Earlier today, the apartment that we're staying at was raided. The person who lives there has given multiple stories, and we have no idea what's true and what's not.
See,
the car is currently left as it was by the police.
Any way we could get in contact with Ustream, because they shut off my stream and didn't save it and didn't archive it, but I got the footage of them pulling me over. I started streaming live. We were just being harassed and intimidated by the CPD. They gave no reason to stop us. 12 police cars stopped us, interrogated us, put us in handcuffs.
It's incredible. It's incredible how upset he was in that video. The intimidation, the nature of cops there. No, it's amazing. It really is. Like watching him cry about how he was mistreated while he justifies the absolute terror that protesters are dealing with by the hands of federal agents. It's just disgusting.
It's unbelievable. I can't even add to that. That's just, that is like, I'm not going to spend that much time talking about, folks like Tim Pool. I think we're all like sort of moving in different directions and different points of focus. But that normalization of something as absolutely foundationally destructive as non-identified federal authorities bagging people on the street, that is a serious and fundamental threat to any even like basic constitutional order.
Yeah, exactly. And anything terrible that you advocate toward your political enemies, let's just say for the sake of this conversation, we'll give Tim Pool the benefit of the doubt and actually believe him when he says these things, right? Those abuses will be used against you. It always happens. It always happens. So if you're on the right and you're giddy at the thought of peaceful protesters getting kidnapped by federal agents, not getting charged with anything, no probable cause, okay? Basically, all of your rights are gone, right? If you're an advocate for that because it's happening to your political opponents, just know it's going to turn around and it's going to affect you. It already did affect Tim Pool to some extent. And it's just amazing how we've become so polarized that we lose sight of how the things we advocate end up hurting us, not even in the long run, in the short term too, like immediately. It's amazing.
I agree. Whatever happened to the old Tim Pool?
I'm not liking this new one. Not good. He's not fooling anyone with that beanie.
I mean, he was the one. He did a debate with Sam Cedar and compared Sam to Thanos, and that was like a funny debate. Like I didn't watch all of it, I'll be honest, but like Sam is like loves that shit. He just loves like, oh, it's a time to argue. That one you could tell he was just like, oof. All right.
I couldn't watch the whole thing. Like as much as I dislike Tim Pool, I felt bad for him. Like it almost hurt watching it, you know? But yeah.